Ever get frustrated with like clunky websites or apps that just make your life harder?
Oh, totally. Like trying to book a flight and the website seems determined to make you miss it.
Ugh, the worst. Well, those frustrations. A UI developer's mission is to prevent them. They're the digital architects making sure your online experience is smooth sailing. And in this deep dive, we're going to break down exactly how they do it. We've got some great resources from RoleCatcher here.
It's amazing how much emphasis is put on user experience these days. It's not just about building something that works, it's got to be intuitive, engaging, even enjoyable to use.
Yeah, like that app you just can't put down, right?
Exactly. And that's where UI developers come in. They bridge that gap between design and functionality, taking those sleek designs and turning them into a seamless digital experience.
The career guide we have here actually calls them the bridge between design and functionality. So it's not just about making things pretty, it's about making those pretty things actually work.
Right. It's like you can admire a beautifully designed house from the outside, but it's the builder, the UI developer, who makes it livable.
So when I picture a UI developer, I'm thinking hunched over lines of code in a dark room, fueled by caffeine. How accurate is that?
Well, the career guide paints a slightly different picture, actually. It's much more collaborative than you might think. Think brainstorming sessions with designers, maybe even working remotely from a sunny beach somewhere?
Okay, so less lone wolf coder, more team player.
Definitely. They're constantly interacting with designers, back-end developers, even clients sometimes.
So walk me through a typical day. What does a UI developer actually do?
So let's say you're a UI developer. You might start your day reviewing design mockups, then dive into the code, bringing those designs to life using languages like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript.
So you're taking that visual blueprint and translating it into a language the computer understands.
Exactly. And throughout the day, you're constantly testing, making sure buttons respond smoothly, the layout looks good on different screen sizes, the whole 9 yards.
Always thinking about the user experience.
Absolutely. Every decision, every line of code revolves around that.
Sounds like a pretty sweet dig, but I imagine it comes with its challenges, right? The career guide even mentioned a few.
Oh, for sure. It's a fast-paced field, constantly evolving. You're always learning new technologies, keeping up with the latest trends.
So you have to be comfortable with like constantly adapting and expanding your skill set.
Exactly. One day you might be mastering a new JavaScript framework. The next, you're figuring out how to make a website accessible to users with disabilities. It's a field for people who love to learn and be challenged.
And with how much we rely on technology these days, it seems like the demand for skilled UI developers is only going to increase.
Absolutely. As long as we rely on websites and apps, there will always be a need for people to build and improve them. So let's talk about climbing that career ladder. The RoleCatcher Career Guide lays out a pretty clear progression from entry level all the way up to senior UI developer.
Okay, so paint a picture for me. What does that journey actually look like?
Well, imagine you're a junior UI developer just starting out. You're probably fresh out of a coding boot camp. Maybe you've got a shiny new computer science degree.
Full of enthusiasm, ready to take on the world.
Exactly. But first, you got to learn the ropes. You'll probably start by assisting senior developers, fixing bugs, creating simple UI elements, make sure the code works across different browsers.
Yeah. So it's like an apprenticeship, learning the tricks of the trade from the more experienced devs.
That's a great way to put it. The career guide even has this sample profile. They describe a junior UI developer as proficient in HTML, CSS, maybe some JavaScript. They're comfortable working with designers, might have a few relevant certifications under their belt.
Building that solid foundation, proving you can handle the basics before moving on to bigger things.
Right. Now, as you progress to mid-level, you're not just taking orders anymore, you're actually making design decisions. You're thinking critically about the user experience, contributing to team discussions, maybe even leading small projects.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty significant leap. What does it take to reach that level? How do you prove you're ready for those bigger responsibilities?
Well, this is where that continuous learning we talked about becomes so crucial. It's not enough to just know the basics anymore. You've got to be constantly expanding your skill set.
So keeping up with the latest technologies, learning new programming languages, that sort of thing.
Exactly. The career guide really emphasizes that. Maybe you dive deeper into JavaScript frameworks, learn about back-end development, master a new design tool. It's all about staying ahead of the curve.
So it's not just about putting in the years, it's about actively seeking out new knowledge and skills.
Absolutely. And just as importantly, you need to showcase what you've learned. That's where a platform like GitHub comes in. Think of it as your online portfolio, where you can share your code, collaborate on open source projects, and really demonstrate your capabilities to potential employers.
So it's like having a highlight reel of your coding skills all in one place.
Precisely. You're showing them what you can do, not just telling them.
This is all incredibly helpful, but I think there's another piece to this puzzle that we haven't touched on yet. We've talked a lot about technical skills, but what about the human element? How important is networking in a field that often seems dominated by technology?
Networking is absolutely crucial, especially in a collaborative field like UI development. You're constantly interacting with other developers, designers, project managers. Building strong relationships is essential.
So it's not enough to be a coding whiz, you also need to be a team player.
Exactly. Attending industry events, joining online communities, even connecting with people on LinkedIn. It's all about building those relationships and learning from others in the field.
It's about building your network and sharing your knowledge.
Right. And let's be real, even with all the preparation in the world, the job search itself can be a bit of a roller coaster. Sending out resumes, hoping for a response, maybe getting ghosted by a recruiter or two. Yeah, it can be tough out there.
Ugh, tell me about it. So, in those moments of job search despair, where does a resource like RoleCatcher come in?
RoleCatcher is great because it offers more than just generic career advice. They have these super in-depth guides specifically tailored to roles like UI development.
Okay, so it's like having a personalized career coach in your pocket. I like it. And speaking of challenges, let's talk about interviews. Those can be pretty nerve-wracking, to say the least. What sets UI developer interviews apart, and how can RoleCatcher help you prepare?
Well, a UI developer interview isn't just about reciting definitions. You'll be expected to think on your feet, solve problems, and explain complex concepts in a clear and concise way.
So more like a problem-solving conversation than a straight-up Q&A.
Exactly. And this is where RoleCatcher's massive library of interview questions comes in handy. They have over 120,000 questions, and they're tailored to specific roles like UI development.
Wow, 120,000 questions. That's a lot of practice material.
It is. But here's the really cool part. They have this AI-powered practice platform where you can actually simulate real interview scenarios.
So you're not just memorizing answers, you're getting actual practice with the interview process itself.
Right. You can practice your answers, get feedback on your body language, even work on your pacing and tone.
That's incredible. It's like having a secret weapon to ace those interviews. But even with the best preparation, the job search itself can be a bit of a minefield, especially with the rise of automated recruitment systems. It's like your resume is being analyzed by algorithms before it even reaches a human.
That's true. A lot of companies are using those systems now.
So how do you even stand out in a sea of applications when a computer is making the initial decisions? Is it even possible to beat the bots? So how do you even stand out in a sea of applications when a computer is making the initial decisions? Is it even possible to beat the bots?
It's not about beating the bots, really. It's more like learning to speak their language.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more.
So RoleCatcher has this cool feature. It's called job spec analysis, and basically it helps you see what those algorithms are looking for.
So like a secret decoder ring for job descriptions.
Kind of. It breaks down those job descriptions, identifies the keywords and skills that the algorithms are programmed to find. Because, you see, if a recruiter wants someone with, say, React.js experience, and you've only listed JavaScript, the algorithm might just skip right over you.
Ah, so it's about being specific, tailoring your resume to match the language those bots are looking for.
Exactly. You're speaking their language. But even if you make it past the bots, you still got to ace that interview. And that's where those soft skills come in, the ones we don't always talk about.
You know, we've talked a lot about the technical stuff, but what are some of those soft skills that can really make or break a UI developer's career?
Well, think about it. UI developers, they're not just coding in isolation, right? They're working with designers, project managers, sometimes even directly with clients.
So being able to communicate effectively, that's got to be huge.
Absolutely. Being able to explain complex technical concepts in a way that everyone understands, that's gold. And then there's problem solving, right? Because bugs happen, deadlines loom, clients change their minds.
It's all about being able to adapt and stay calm under pressure.
Exactly. And this field is constantly changing, so that adaptability is key.
So for anyone listening who's feeling both excited and maybe a little intimidated by the world of UI development, what's the one thing you want them to take away from this deep dive?
Embrace the blend.
Ah,
Hone those technical skills, absolutely. But don't underestimate those soft skills, communication, collaboration, that constant drive to learn and grow.
Beautifully said. It's not just about building websites and apps, it's about creating experiences that connect with people. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into the world of UI development. Big thanks to our expert for sharing their insights. And for you listeners, if you're ready to take your UI development journey to the next level, don't forget to check out RoleCatcher.com. It's your secret weapon for navigating the job market and building a career you love. Until next time, keep those digital dreams alive.